Welcome back. It took an iron will to empower the Indian army to conduct a surgical strike. Modi did it, and Pakistan paid. The army did its job well with courage, duty and honor. They were doubted and chastised by the opposition parties in this country. When terrorists struck, the army's efficacy was questioned. The surgical strike scoffed at. With jawans under siege from Pakistani agents, our opposition Netas insulted the army chief. They had so much to say. Today, when the army has eliminated between 14 and 17 terrorists, even a squad that was trying to infiltrate into a CRPF camp, saving lives of their own and ours, the same opposition voices, from Karat upwards downwards, have nothing to say. There is success after success at the LoC, but silence from the opposition. Why? How is it that those who have the freedom to insult those who serve us take great pleasure in accusing the army of plotting state coups, being a lapdog of the establishment and whatnot? Today, can't find it within themselves to praise the success. Because somehow if India wins, Modi delivers, and that's too much to stomach. Wrong. When India wins, we all win. Every single Indian life saved is a challenge and a victory. Let politics not stilt our support to our boys who fight for us, because they don't live and work in a vacuum, even though they are at icy sarhads. Today, the opposition needs to explain why they are quiet on the success. We asked them, but first, here's what happened.
The Indian Army thwarts Pakistan's nefarious terror plot almost every month, but Pakistan does not give up, and India does not hold back. 14 terrorists have been neutralized in the past 96 hours. And this is a testimony to success after success along the line of control for the Indian Army.
आतंकवाद तथा अतिवाद के खिलाफ संघर्ष एससीओ के सहयोग का अहम भाग है। मुद्दा चाहे रेडिकलाइजेशन का हो, टेररिस्ट की रिक्रूटमेंट का, उनकी ट्रेनिंग का अथवा फाइनेंसिंग का, जब तक हम सभी देश मिलकर इस दिशा में कोऑर्डिनेटेड तथा सशक्त एफर्ट्स नहीं करेंगे, तब तक इन समस्याओं का समाधान असंभव है।
First, Prime Minister Modi had ordered for the surgical strikes, but was slammed by the opposition. Then several infiltration bids were foiled, but still the opposition isn't convinced, but rather placed politics over the army. Killing 14 terrorists in the past 96 hours and dismembering Pakistan's plot proves our soldiers' tenacity. Then why are the peaceniks silent now? Will insult the army, but will not praise. Bureau Report, NewsX.
All right, so let's open up this conversation. On the broadcast with me, Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad is joining us from Delhi. Narendra Taneja representing the BJP tonight. Mohammad Khan from the Congress is with me in the studio. Professor Madhav Nalapat stays on with us as well. Fuad Aleem joining us from Kolkata in just a bit. He is the CPI leader. Let me get the army man on the panel tonight first up. Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, when the surgical strike happened, there were so many doubts being raised. When the army was doing some exercises with the local police in Bengal, Mamata Banerjee said there's a coup being plotted at the state level. You heard what Prakash Karat and others have had to say in the past few days. They've insulted the army chief. Now, when the army comes out and says that, look, over the past few weeks, there have been several infiltration attempts that we have successfully thwarted, we've gunned down these terrorists and thereby protected lives, this stony silence. Why do you think that happens, sir?
See, let's examine it very carefully and maturely. There seems to be an utter state of disarray, the utter state of no confidence in themselves. They have nothing to contribute to nation building. There is a state of complete frustration. And since the prime issue that is hitting the country today is terrorism, the army is obviously in the forefront. So when anything happens where they can criticize the army, they think they're criticizing the political establishment, but they don't know they're harming the integrity and security of this country, which the enemy is going to take benefit out of. The problem is that they have nothing positive to show, they have only negatives to cover. Therefore, they go on doing this. Now look at the action that the army is doing for the past couple of days, and particularly in the last 24 hours, where a large number of terrorists have been eliminated. Please let us understand that once the summer months begin, the infiltration increases, and the army has to take innovative means, as the army chief says, to quote unquote the army chief's language. We have to find ways and means to defeat it. The militants are hard to catch in a difficult terrain. Here's an army which is working in difficult terrain under adverse conditions that eliminates the militants, and in the last 24 hours you have the figures before you.
Yes.
When anything happens like Gogoi's incident, these people go to town shouting that the human rights have been violated and they want to fix that young major. The army chief makes a couple of statements to say anybody who interferes in our legitimate military task, which means that he is not permitting us to deal with the militants who are armed with weapons or to evacuate our own casualties, such people will be treated on par with the terrorists. They call it political statement. When the army chief says in an unconventional situation where we are fighting an enemy which has got no uniform, which doesn't have weapons to fire at us, and we can't fire at them because they're innocent, so-called, then they call it excessive force, and they call it that innovative means are not a good idea, and it's a political statement. And it's a political statement. When the army chief says, do you want me to tell these people don't fire, get killed, I will bring a beautiful coffin for you, wrap your body into a national flag, give you honorable cremation or a funeral, then these people think it's a political statement.
You know, so
I
let's
don't
take an
understand
explanation.
why these people are not understanding.
Well, you're preaching to the choir,
why these people are not...
Yeah,
one minute.
Yeah,
One minute.
finish your point, yeah. Finish, please.
Why these... 1 minute. My last point. But the question that we need to ask the political class, A, B or C party is, are you with the nation or are you not with the nation? Do you understand that we are being subjected to terrorism time and time again? And now a time has come when all political class must together and understand who the enemy is, what the enemy is doing to you.
So again,
Can
the premise
we wake
that
up and fight that
was
enemy
drawn
of
at
the
the top.
united country?
When India wins, we all win. It's not that Narendra Modi wins. Mohammad Khan, why is Tony silence? When the army has said that they have eliminated so many of terrorists, why is your party high command not out addressing press conferences, writing editorial pieces from the ranks of the opposition? Why is that not happening, sir?
Well, absolutely, that's a good question, and I'm glad that I'm here to answer it. This is a very important debate to have, and let me begin by saying this. I want to make two broad points. The first is to my senior Lieutenant General Prasad, a man of great accomplishment. I want to say, sir, I don't think there's any political party across the spectrum that does not hold the army in the highest regard. I think everybody does. Now, the point I want to make is this. I think one of the biggest successes of the BJP government has been to confuse the people, right? To believe that any criticism of them is a criticism of the army. Criticize हम करते हैं सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को, हम करते हैं क्रिटिसाइज बीजेपी को, हम करते हैं आलोचना बीजेपी की जब वो इस्तेमाल करने की कोशिश करते हैं आर्मी की अपने जाती पॉलिटिकल गेन्स के लिए जो उन्होंने यूपी में की. एंड लेट्स नॉट फूल आवरसेल्व्स, कम ऑन, दैट हैपेंड. नाउ आई सी तनेजा साहब इज शेकिंग हिज हेड एंड आई एम श्योर ही disagree with me.
And I'll give him a chance, but finish your point, Mohammad Khan. I'm trying to see where you're going with this.
Yes, now see this. What the BJP has very cleverly done, and I think whoever masterminded it must be given a medal. Since October of last year, they have made sure that the army and the BJP is inextricably tied together. And that's not fair to the army. That's not fair to the army. And they make the army seem like such a weak institution. Prasad,
no, hang on. I'm sorry, Mohammad Khan. Let me extricate the two.
Yes.
No, you're saying the army and the BJP, there's a government at the center.
Absolutely.
To which the army reports. So there are inextricabilities. This has got nothing to do with the BJP. This is the government of the day, which is elected and has to make the decisions. That government of that day has to make the decisions of political will to allow a surgical strike, to allow the army freedom of operation, which is what they've done, and that is now delivering on the LoC. Now that it is delivering, will you credit the army, number one? Will you credit the government of the day to having the political gumption to let the army do what it takes and backing them up?
I understand we live in an age where everybody has to wear the nationalism on their sleeves. I take great pride in being a citizen of this nation. And I say this, I've been following this debate. I've written on it extensively also since November of last year. I haven't found any serious voice speaking out against the army. But the BJP is quick to say any criticism of theirs is a criticism of the army. I say, you show me an example.
Serious voice. I'm sorry. What was Prakash Karat doing? And I'll get Fuad Ali. What was Prakash Karat doing? His party to explain. Okay. When you questioned and demanded proof of surgical strikes, what were you doing?
Yes, I'm glad you asked me that. I was going to come to that. The person who asked for proof of surgical strikes was a leader from Maharashtra. You remember who he was. And what did the Congress do? Within 1 hour, it condemned that statement.
Okay, so you're all in favor, and we come tomorrow, come Monday, after the Sunday off,
yes.
Come tomorrow, we are going to expect hurling and thundering praise for the operations that have been carried out successfully in the LoC from your party.
Hesitation.
Well, we wait for it. Narendra Taneja, come in. Narendra Taneja, your floor.
You see, deep in their heart, Congress and the communists, they know that what Narendra Modi government has achieved, they could never ever achieve that. Look at the state of the party today. Party has no direction, no ideology. Party is a total mess. You see, they know it in deeper heart. On the top of it, they see Narendra Modi and the BJP government do this fantastic work. Pakistan is in such a bad shape today. They really don't know how to deal with India. You see, that's just read the Pakistani press, read the local newspapers in Pakistan. If you have the chance, talk to the Pakistani journal. They will tell you the truth. And Congress party, with the experience that they have, in their heart, they know the truth. But they are not able to digest it. Look at the kind of statement. I mean, you hate BJP. We all know that. But why have you started hating India? The fact is, Congress now hates India just because India is ruled by BJP. They can't digest it. They hate
This is your fault. That you have politicized the army by linking the army into a nationalism narrative. How do you respond to that, Charles?
No, just a second.
Let him respond. I've asked the question on your behalf. Let him respond.
No. Look at the statement of Congress, BJP today. Congress MP Sandeep Dikshit today. Sandeep Dikshit is official spokesperson of Congress party. Look at the statement about he is targeting the army chief, giving headlines to Pakistan. Is he a citizen of India or is he an agent of Pakistan? The fact is, Congress party today is full of people who are more concerned about Pakistani national interest, Pakistani military interest, ISI's military interest than India's national interest.
Okay. That might be a stretch, but there is a political case to answer. Okay, before I give Mohammad Khan a chance to answer, I want to get Fuad Aleem into this conversation and Madhav Nalapat. Mr. Fuad Aleem, do we expect an editorial, sir, from one of your party leaders or at least from the left camp next week on how well the army is doing in J&K now, sir? Mr. Fuad Aleem, you can hear me, sir? Okay, I'm presuming that audio line is not there. We'll get it fixed. Professor Madhav Nalapat, you've been listening into this conversation as well as following the narrative. And we've seen stony silence today, sir. The army has come out, the army chief has spoken, army spokespersons have come out, and they have managed to foil serious terror attacks. A serious attack infiltration, as Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad has been pointing out to us, have been pulled off. They've been stopped. 4 terrorists that were about to enter a CRPF camp were caught and gunned down before they could pull out another Uri, which was what they're trying to do. Shankar Prasad, you heard the 2 politicians speak on the panel. Are you convinced by the Congress's argument that the BJP is to blame for interlinking the army with politics somehow?
You see, the army has a very clear-cut task. The army task which is given by any government, whether A party or B party, for the last so many years, is maintain the sanctity of a line of control, prevent any infiltration. If anybody does infiltrate and the militants come out with weapons, they need to be cornered and eliminated. Prevent as far as possible collateral damage. Save lives of innocent people. These are the diktats of the government to the military. Within this diktat, the military is working. And the military is working quite efficiently as they can, under the circumstances when people within the country, when people within the state of Jammu and Kashmir are anti-government of India, anti-India. There is a set of Hurriyat people who are encouraging people to throw stones at the army because they get money from across the border. Now, what do you deal with these people? These are the people who are criticizing the army, and unfortunately a very well-known political party today with a very, very well-known political leader of Delhi has cast some aspersions against the army chief.
To add to the ones that have already been cast in the past week.
How pathetic can we be?
It is pathetic. Okay, it
So
is
the
pathetic.
point I'm
Okay,
trying to
Professor
make is that
Nalapat.
leave the army to do its professional job.
Professor
And the
Nalapat,
army
you've been
does
listening
a
into the
professional
conversation,
job
sir. The
as
premise is
well
very
as-
simple.
As it is done at any.
No, the premise is very simple.
No, the job I mean,
Yeah.
you see, the one, just let me finish this. The army is doing a task, military task, which has been given to it not by A political party or B political party, but for many last years. All what has changed now, particularly after the govt incident, is that the young people in the army who do job on the ground are feeling more protected.
Yes.
They're feeling protected by their senior officers because the army chief has protected them. They're feeling more protected by the defense minister
Okay.
who has made certain
All right.
very
You
crystal
heard the
remarks.
narrative, sir.
And by the-
Okay.
by the
Just stay with
general
me.
public in India.
While I'm trying to get Madhav Nalapat and Fuad Ali back into the conversation.
Can I respond
Yeah,
to-
Mohammad Khan, you heard the premise. Now the premise is, why should it be presumed that now if you have to go and criticize the army, and that's fine, and now when it comes to praise the army, somehow you're praising the Modi government?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have great faith in Army. I think it's an incredibly resilient and strong institution, and it has given us stalwarts who have led the nation in times
So
of
calling
peril.
the army chief Gunda would be wrong, right? One would presume.
So I'll tell you something. I know what you're referring to, and I'll tell you this. The Congress's position of utmost respect. You have debated us on this earlier, Rishabh, and we've been unequivocal in our support of the army. Listen, criticizing the government should not be confused as criticism for the army. There's a very famous saying, dissent should not be confused for disloyalty, and that is what the BJP is doing. Taneja sir, मैं अपनी बात का जवाब देना चाहता हूँ. You're a very senior man, and I've debated you several times. Sir, let me tell you something. We don't hate you. We don't hate you, Taneja sir. We hate what you stand for. That's the problem.
Okay.
Listen,
There is a lot of hate in this country,
there is
one
a
way
lot
or
of
the
hate in this
other.
country.
No, but what I'm trying to
We
answer
don't
is, no,
hate
what I'm trying to find out
We
is,
hate what you stand for.
and frankly,
Yes,
could not be
listen from the
bothered
party
by the
first before
politics
you
of
come
either
here.
side. What I'm trying to
Stop
find out is
Yes,
what
stop this
Shankar Prasad
Pravachan.
has been pointing out,
Ye Pravachan
that when you
band
come
kariye.
out and criticize the
Stop this
army,
Pravachan.
when you come out and criticize the army,
This
Mohammad
Sandeep
Khan,
Dixit
one
first.
party, one senior leader who should know better, when they come out and do them, what happens to the morale of the boy on the front line?
See, Rishabh, again, this is, I don't know, it's debates like this that seem to suggest that a part of the country is against the army, a part of the country is for the army, and they them sirf Rashtravad.
So it's not editorials,
It's not,
it's not speeches, it's not press conferences, the debates are the problem.
Rishabh,
Okay.
let me finish this point. Look, there is a party here, and Taneja Saab is their spokesperson, जो राष्ट्रवाद के certificate बांटने की लाइन में लगे. We don't want any of their nationalism certificates. We believe the army is resilient enough to withstand criticism.
We're not
genuine
asking you to
criticism.
seek one.
Number two, we have never criticized the army. We are proud of our army.
Okay.
हमें गर्व होता है
All right.
अपनी
I'll
सेना
give
पे,
Narendra
सेना
Taneja
पे.
a chance to
But
respond.
Taneja
Then I
साहब-
need to open for the
And Taneja साहब, you know the problem
And
is,
Madhav Nalapat
you're
go back with
desperate.
them.
You're
Narendra
desperate.
Taneja.
आप कभी ना जवाब
Okay.
नहीं दे पाओगे. आप हमेशा ये बोलते रहोगे कांग्रेस भ्रष्ट है, कांग्रेस सरकार के खिलाफ है.
Okay, let him
And
answer.
सरकारों की
Okay,
सवालों के
let him
जवाब
answer.
दीजिए.
Then Fuad Ali में Madhav Nalapat. Narendra
These
Taneja.
lectures and pravachans in the studio. He
Sir,
has
nobody is
called
lecturing
the
you.
army chief
All we do is
Gunda.
listen to you, badmouth us. We listen quietly. We say,
Well,
जो बोलना है बोलिए,
Mohammad
पर
Khan,
हमारे सवाल
we've
के जवाब
heard you. Well,
दीजिए.
we've heard you. Now let's Narendra Taneja. Let's hear him.
No, all I'm saying is I've listened to the lecture and pravachan of Congress spokesperson. I'm saying is, you see, Congress party's official spokesperson has called the army chief Sadakka Gunda. Now the question is, A, what action you have initiated against him? Have you dismissed him as the official spokesperson or not? Have you dismissed him as a member of the Congress party or not? What action you have taken? Forget
That's a
about
fair
what we
question.
do,
I can answer
issuing
that.
certificates,
Taneja
stop
sir,
all
that's a
that.
fair question,
We are
and
just
I will
saying your
answer that.
official
If
spokesperson, the
I'm telling
person,
you,
has
I'm
said
hearing
this.
about this from you.
Pakistani
Rishabh,
press,
I believe you're
listen,
very
wait, hold on.
right?
Pakistani
We
press has
will,
already
I
picked
promise
up.
you, you
It's
can
already
get
running
back.
as the
Get
top
back
news
to
on
you.
Pakistani
Sir,
news
when we
channels.
come here,
Is going
we don't
all
come
across
here and
Pakistan.
say जो हमारे दिल
The
में होता
question
है,
is what
हम जो है
action you
तैयारी
have
करके आते
initiated
हैं. We
against
prepare a
him.
party
You
line,
know,
we come
that
here
is the
coherently
reason
try and
first
debate you.
at
Okay,
first-
all
The
right,
fact is,
gentlemen,
I'm here
let us
presenting the
come
party
from
line
you.
before you.
Let us roll back
I'm not
this-
going to talk
Just the
about
other day-
statements
just
given
the
in
other
our
day-
Okay, let us roll back this or not, because there are two people who've been listening to the conversation. We lost them for a bit.
And you don't take
Okay.
any action against
Narendra
these
Taneja, you
people.
made your point.
Taneja
Okay,
sir,
you made your point.
Taneja
Mohammed,
sir,
just stay on.
आप
Just stay on. Mohammad Khan, hang on.
मुझे जवाब दीजिए
There are
आप.
two people who we lost for a bit. We've got them back. Let's get a word in. I'm going to start with Fuad Aleem. Fuad Aleem, the army is reporting success at the LoC after success after success. Terror attacks are being foiled, infiltrators are being gunned down, lives are being saved. Today, do we credit the army and the people who allowed them to act?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the first thing is that this comment that has come from is very unfortunate and something which is disruptive on two counts. We take strong exception to such comments being made against the Chief of the Indian Army. And the first count is that one should not use such words against the Indian Army Chief. On the second count, the very discourse or the
Okay, unfortunately I've lost, yeah, Fadhil, go ahead, we can hear you, go ahead.
Words should be, the Chief of Army Staff's words should be discussed. It undermines that entire what you call debate and discourse. You know, we are very concerned at this point of time in changing behavior of the character of the Chief of the Indian Army, which is departing from the previous tradition that the Indian Army has maintained. And at that point of time, if you have some loose missiles shooting their mouths off, that entire serious discourse which should be
No, but what's the serious discourse? Why is the serious discourse for Fadhil not on the successes? Answer the question.
Three issues that we have raised.
Do we say well done for stopping terror on the LoC?
The three issues that we have raised in connection with the Chief of the Indian Army and the changing behavior is that, and it's serious concerns we are raising. We are not raising it from a point of view which is antagonistic. We are raising it from a point of view so that we actually engage with these changes that the Indian Army is undertaking.
We'll absorb your constructive criticism for the Leam, but can the constructive criticism come with the word of praise when it's due?
Number one,
major terror attacks have been averted in the past few days.
We are coming to that. Number one is that what do you call it, it's unbecoming of the Indian Army Chief to say that people should take up bullets against the Indian Army. Number two, there is a change in protocol. The first time a serving officer of the Indian Army has been awarded a commendation card, which is under investigation of the BJP government in Kashmir itself. Now these are changing behaviors.
I've tried to ask you a simple question for the Leam and I haven't been able to get a simple answer. And here lies the problem.
Your question I am coming to directly. Number one, there are issues that have to be dealt with the military on the LoC and in regard to insurgency in Kashmir, and the army is playing its role.
Okay, the army is playing its role, but I haven't got the answer for Fadhil. I haven't been able to get the answer. Okay, Narendra Taneja wants to come in and then General Shankar Prasad, and I'm hoping I have Madhav Nalapat back with me. Mrs. Taneja.
You see, the problem is that CPI, the Communist Party, they don't believe in India. You know the history of the Communist Party. They wanted, during the independence movement, they wanted balkanization of India. We all know the truth. We know the history. So I don't expect any word of praise in the government or for the Indian army. Listen, for the Indian army, we know that. We know the history of the party. But my point is, the award, you don't know the history. You don't know the history. We know
that you're rewriting the history.
You work for the balkanization of India so that you could capture a part of India and declare that as a communist state. We know the history. We know the history. So stop lecturing that. The point is, and the army chief did what the army chief
Frankly,
did.
politically, it was not of material consequences. I've been trying to hammer over a single point for which the politicians of the family are walking around. Okay, so I'm going to try to get Madhav Nalapat into this conversation, hoping he's back with us. Professor Nalapat, if you can hear us, you've been listening into bits of this debate. I know we lost you in the middle. The premise is simple. Why is it that certain opposition parties can't today bring in it themselves to credit the army for the successes in just the past few days, let alone the weeks and months?
Well, I'd like Mr. Khan to go back to Punjab and what happened in Punjab. There was extremely strong action taken in the Punjab. In the case of India, for example, in the case of Hyderabad, there was very strong action taken in the case of Hyderabad. Yes, and in both Punjab and in Hyderabad, the situation was brought under control. The reason why it's not been brought under control in Kashmir is because we have this false sense of, we really can't identify who's the enemy and who's the friend. Now, my point is, anybody who lobs bullets against the army, anybody who tries to conduct terror operations or who tries to harm innocent, for example, tourists from the rest of India and Kashmir, these people are certainly not people to be encouraged. Now, the problem in Kashmir has been, there has been too soft a policy in Kashmir on those who are plainly anti-Indian and plainly, frankly, completely tied up with Pakistan.
Okay.
And that is why Kashmir has been boiling, when Punjab is not boiling anymore, when so many other places have not been boiling anymore. And I would like to say that the army chief has a difficult job ahead of him, and I think it's important not to bring him in the line of fire. Allow him to do his work. At the end of 2 years, if he has failed in Kashmir, that failure will be clear on the ground. But if he has succeeded, for heaven's sake, give him a very good medal. But in the meantime, please don't get in the way, and please don't keep second guessing what he's supposed to do.
I'm out of town.
Driving is
I'm out of time,
bad,
sorry.
And backseat driving
I'm out of time.
is the worst thing.
Okay, backseat driving is the worst thing. I'm out of time. With Mohammed Khan, with respect, disagrees with some of that. I don't know what. We won't have the chance to hear that out.
30 seconds?
Quickly.
Yeah, Professor Nalapat, with due respect, I respectfully disagree with what you're saying for one simple reason. Punjab was an internal issue. If I recall my history correctly, Bhindranwale and the whole Khalistani movement was internal. Here we have a foreign power acting on us in Kashmir. You're absolutely right. We cannot backseat drive. We don't want to. We implore this government to act in a responsible manner.
Okay, the premise is
That's all we are saying.
We have an army chief. Let him do his job. Back him and do his job. And for God's sake, if he's being successful,
By Pakistan.
if there is success to be gained, let us be proud and happy of it as Indians, because our lives are the ones that are being saved. I'm out of time, gentlemen, for having this conversation. Thank you. Good night.